Hello and welcome to the Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast with me, clinical somatic educator and founder of Total Somatics, Heidi Hadley. The Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast has been designed to help you gain a deeper understanding to how your mind and body work. You will learn about your amazing mind and body and why over time you can feel pain, recurring injuries and poor posture. Within this podcast, I will teach you why this doesn't have to be your future or the norm for you. Would you like to learn how to reduce pain, move freely, and gain a new lease of life? Let's get started. Hello and welcome back. Now, in this episode, I'm going to be addressing a very common question, and that is, does stretching help long-term with muscle pain and tension? But before we actually go into discussing that subject, I just want to encourage you that if you're watching this on the Total Somatics YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the notification bell. So whenever an episode is released, you are the first to find out. So let's just refer back to that question. Does stretching help long-term with muscle tension and pain? Now, because that's a very common question, I want to share with you within the Total Somatics membership an extract from a workshop that I held live to the general public some time ago. And that was a really common question there too. So what I'm often finding is this very, very similar questions are coming through to me. And I thought, what can I do to ensure that you're getting a good content, you're getting up-to-date information, and also an insight into the material and the depth and the knowledge and the skills that's within the Total Somatics membership. So today, and also the next few episodes, you will hear some extracts that are coming from within the Total Somatics membership. So sit down, get yourself settled, and enjoy this extract as I cover that burning question. Does stretching help long-term muscle tension and pain? So the answer is not really no, because as we learned before through these video series, that your brain controls everything. It's controlling the level of tension that your muscles have, your coordination, your balance, your movement, your sensory world, how you sense and feel the world around you. Everything comes from your brain. So remember, I said before, your brain is like a sponge. It's soaking everything in. It's shaping us emotionally, mentally, physically, biomechanically, everything. It shapes us from what we expose ourselves to most of the time. And so because of that being the case, when we stretch, there isn't actually any stimulation to your brain. It's a passive movement. So when it's passive, there's no learning, there's no re-education happening. And with many of us, we really have to be very efficient with our time. So it's finding a method of movement practice that's going to help release and ease muscle tension, but it's an intelligent format that we want to use, something that when we do each time, we're actually building on a foundation. Whereas if it's passive and there's no learning, there's no re-education at a brain level, it kind of feels like we're always going back to square one. And that's basically what's happening, because when you stretch, not only is there no stimulation, we're not re-educating between the muscle and your brain efficient muscle memory. Do you remember when we looked at that young lad a couple of sessions ago, and we talked about the principles of movement, that when one side contracts, the other side lengthens? That's the principle of movement that he took with him. That is because in pandiculation, we re-educate your brain to muscles and the fascia and everything else in between. That all learns to work like an orchestra. If you think of an orchestra, they all have their individual parts in an orchestra. Put them together and it's a beautiful music. It's the same with our amazing body. It's designed that there's different sections that will come together. And when we move, when we stimulate your brain, when we learn, that's where the power lies. That's when we create changes on so many levels. And so something that's very interesting is that with stretching, people might think it's mindful, and they might have their ways of being mindful with stretching. However, when we stretch, sometimes we can let our ego come into it a little bit, because what we end up doing is going, do you know what, I'm just going to stretch a little bit further. I just want to go a bit further today. And that's our ego leading us. It's what we want to do, rather than mindfully noticing what your brain is gauging is the end of that range of movement today. Because remember, for different factors, it could be from our habits, it could be from our stress, from all different things. Your brain is modeling and shaping your muscles all the time. So if you forcefully try and stretch a muscle and your brain is not gauging that that's a safe range and it's going beyond what your brain is gauging is that muscle length, what happens is you cramp and spasm. And when you cramp and spasm, it's a spinal cord reflex. It's a very special protective mechanism to stop you overstretching and tearing muscles. But you see, when people keep stretching and they're breathing through a stretch, is the expression people use, they're not really listening to the end range of movement. And sometimes they come up and they feel a bit achy and they go, oh, it must have been a really good stretch session because I'm achy. But it's usually because they've triggered the stretch reflex that will cramp and spasm the muscle a little bit tighter than it was before they started stretching. And then it starts to pull on their ligaments and joints and tendons. So can you see that it really is a very short-term fix? And it's again the old mindset where we used to talk about fixing certain areas, like if you've got a tight hamstring, how do I stretch the hamstring? Whereas when we look at total somatic movement education, we realize the hamstring, for instance, is part of patterning of basically an entire chain of muscles. So remember, one muscle doesn't work on its own. Your hamstring is working in conjunction with your bottom muscles, your lower back muscles, your hip muscles, the muscles that run all the way through your spinal column to your head. And then likewise from your hamstrings all the way down to your feet. So there's a pattern. And what we do is we work through that pattern of tension. And so your hamstring is just one of many. That is where we're changing our view and our mindset of how we actually look at our soma. Remember, it's a full body pattern of contraction. And the reason I say that for is because, as we're going to learn shortly when I cover the next question, your brain is a pattern creator. It's constantly creating tension and tightness. And what we do in Total Somatics is notice the patterns of tension. And we use pandiculation to go into that tension and then slowly release. And we do that on a neurological level. So it doesn't have to be a big movement. And the key thing is that when we contract in pandiculation compared to stretching, when we contract the muscle, we wake up your brain and your brain goes, oh, hello, what's going on here? My attention is needed. And then what you do with a pandiculation after you've contracted is you slowly lengthen the muscle to the end of that natural movement before it turns into a stretch. And then you go, and rest. Consider a yawn. A yawn is actually called pandiculation. If you were to Google pandiculation, you'll see it says yawn as a definition. So consider when you yawn, do you feel that little contraction, don't you, in your jaw? And then you open your mouth and then you go, rest. When you yawn, do you ever think, how far can I take my jaw? No, you don't, do you? You contract and you allow it to be a natural sensory motor reset. That's what's happening. That's what pandiculation is. It's a sensory motor reset from your brain to your muscle. So you contract and then you go, oh, and then you go, You don't go, how far can I take my jaw to the point of dislocation? Do you see what I mean? It's literally, we just go to the end of that natural movement and then we just go, and rest. That's that nurturing. Do you remember when we talked about the garden again? We're nurturing our soma. We're letting things flourish and grow and blossom at the time that is ready for when everything is healing and settling and regulating inside. And so that's really why when we start looking at pandiculation as a whole, it's where we're managing not just how to get efficient muscle memory and how to learn how to contract, relax, move muscles more efficiently, but we're taking off the pressure and the tension in your joints and your muscles. They don't need to be being tight all the time. It's a lot of energy for your body to keep holding muscles contracted. If I was to walk around all day contracting my bicep, that's tiring, that's hard work. It would start to affect my joints, it would affect my movement. And that's the same principle for any muscles anywhere in your body. And so it's all about creating neural connections. And what we want to do is make our brain create new brain cells, new connections all the time. We want to stay cognitively alert and fresh. We want to be noticing how we're working on a day-to-day basis and how we can take total somatic movement education principles from the floor or the chair, wherever we do our practice, into our daily activities. So I would love your views on that extract there. Please let me know your takeaway points, those eureka moments. What resonated with you in that episode or in that extract? I'd love to know. So either let me know in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or let me know within the Total Somatics Facebook group. Or again, you can always contact me at support@totalsomatics.com. I love to hear from you all. Keep your questions coming in, because really, that's what these podcasts are about. They're serving you. I want to address the questions, and wherever you are at with your health and well-being, I want to be there to serve and support you. So please stay connected. But in the meantime, if you go to totalsomatics.com, click on the Join Now page, you'll see that on that page, there is an opportunity to leave your details on a wait list. So whenever I open the membership doors, if you've put your details on that wait list, you will be the very first to find out. And that open door sort of season for the Total Somatics membership is only for a very short period of time, because my focus, my priority is to take care of the Total Somatics members. So I want to be fully focused and present for them. And so that's why only periodically I'll open the membership doors. So if you're feeling ready to join me for Total Somatics, I would love to see you, and everybody else in the Total Somatics community will also welcome you in. So that's totalsomatics.com. Click on the Join Now page, leave your details there, and whenever we open the doors, which won't be too long, you can always come in that way. But in the meantime, if you want to get started today, go to totalsomatics.com. Click on the shop page, and when you go to the shop page, you will actually see that there's an opportunity to buy audios and video classes and workshop sessions. So please check that out, because you can benefit with Total Somatics today, but then together we can do so much more with greater depth and also a real focus and clarity to what you need within the membership in the very near future. So until next time, all my love and my very best wishes. Take care. Bye. Thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and also forward this on to somebody you know will benefit. To learn more about pain relief, plus how to improve your health and well-being, go to totalsomatics.com. Until next time, take care.